My career sucks.
Sex just isn't the same.
What's my purpose?
Where did this fat come from?
My relationship is killing me.
I'll never be happy.
My debt is piling up. I'll never find love. Why can't I be like other gay guys? Hey guys, it's time to get a grip, stop whining, make a bold move, and do something amazing with your 40-plus gay life. Let's get to the show with your Tell It Like It Is host, Rick Clemons, who does his best to never act like a dick or a diva unless you act like one first.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of 40-plus Gay Men Gay Talk. And today we're going to talk about something that all of us, most of us, enjoy talking about. We're going to talk about sex, but also sexual health and using the right kind of products to make it as what it's really meant to be: enjoyable, fun, pleasurable, not just wham bam, thank you, sir. We're going to talk a whole lot about a lot of things. And I brought a guest on today who happens to be CEO of an interesting sexual health company. You may not have heard of it. You may not go, oh, I don't know about this. And then if you go start looking around, you probably have seen their products. The company name is Promescent, and the guy's name that we're going to be talking to is Jeff Abraham. He is that guy that's bringing all this full spectrum of sexual wellness, whether it's like you want some really good lubes or some product that helps you kind of delay the satisfaction. I love what he's doing, and he's going to give us the whole story of how I got into this and more, because we've already had a really interesting conversation leading up to this. But Jeff, I just want to say welcome to the podcast, and thank you for coming in and sharing what you're about to share with my community. It's always interesting to see how people may shy away from, oh, I'm going to talk about gay men. No, it's about sexual pleasure, however that sexual pleasure comes about. So thank you, sir, for joining me here today. Glad you're here.
It's our pleasure to be here. And like we talked about in our little brief chat before we went on air, our goal is to have everyone welcome at our site. Mm-hmm. And I call it our tent, have everyone in our tent. We don't tell people what type of sex to have. We tell people, if you want to make love longer, we have a solution. If you make love smoother, we have a solution. If you want to make love more fun, we have toys. The smoother would be the lubrication that we have.
Yep.
We have nitric oxide supplements if you want to make love with more vigor. You know what I mean? Have a higher erectile function and more energy. So we really believe that everyone needs to go after what their definition of happiness is, what their definition of the ideal partner is. And that's not our job to preach or direct anyone in any direction. I know in my life that, I've had enough trouble finding the right long-term partner to begin with. And I've had a lot of experiences that were positive and negative. And I don't want someone telling me what type of sex to have. So I'm never going to tell anyone else what type of sex to have.
Yeah. But I think the interesting piece that you just brought up is this is all over the place. And to try to put anybody in any box about anything, number one, but especially when we start to talk about sex and experiences and all these sort of things. Yes, this is something we don't talk a lot about as humans. Some countries do a really good job about sex as just a normal part of conversation. But the other piece is this is just another piece of expressing and exploring who we are as a human being. And then when you start to tell people, well, here's the only way you can get pleasure, there's lots of ways to get pleasure. I personally am a guy that I just love masturbation. It's one of my most just expressive ways, solo or together. I'm not saying I don't like, penetration and all that stuff, but if you want to really get me off, let's just jerk off together. There's nothing that turns me on more than seeing that, and having the right stuff to do that with is really important. Don't give me some lube that's all sticky. I will throw that bottle out. And I have thrown many bottles of lube out. It just doesn't work. But I love that you're bringing kind of some science-based stuff into this. And I know all that stuff has science-based, but you're doing it a little bit differently. So here's my big question that I didn't tell the listeners. I mean, Jeff was a tech guy, and now here he is doing this. So how did that all happen, man? That's an interesting little twist to everything.
I tell people it's the most circuitous route that anyone ever took into being a CEO of a sexual wellness brand. So I owned a semiconductor engineering company and had very good success with it. And I retired in 2011, sold the company and retired. I didn't have to work the rest of my life. I'm like, okay, this is great. Here we go. my next door neighbor, very good friend and doctor all rolled into one was Dr. Ronald Gilbert. He was the chief of urology at Hoag Hospital, Newport Beach. I went in to see him a couple months after retirement for my yearly PSA and physical, the whole thing. And he was like, hey, I developed this product and I'd really like your opinion. I grew up decidedly lower middle class and, in a little coal mining town in Pennsylvania. I moved to California, had all kind of success and did it all by myself and retired. So a lot of people were impressed. Can you help me out? I said, yeah. He said, I developed a treatment for PE. And of course, at the time, being 58 years old, I go, you developed a treatment for physical education? Because when I was in school, PE was phys ed. I didn't realize it stood for premature ejaculation. He goes, no, no, no. And I go, oh, like ED, PE, yeah. So the first product the company had was a solution for premature ejaculation to allow men to last longer. And it was a very, very substantial product. I ended up investing in it, taking over the company. We invested in clinical trials. And next thing you know, we became the go-to treatment in PE for allowing men to last longer. But it became apparent to me that there were two distinct markets for that product. Number one was people who suffered from severe chronic PE, which is defined by the AUA, American Urological Association, is never lasted more than 90 seconds. But even recreationally speaking, you can't tell me if someone lasts 2 minutes and their partner wants to go for 10 or 20, that you don't need some type of help or some type of aid to achieve that. So it became apparent that we needed two different forms of advertising. One, going to physicians, basically targeting people with PE, and another one just going for people who wanted to be better in bed, people who wanted to have more control. So we did. We kind of split up our marketing efforts and things began to grow. Then it became apparent that we had such a good reputation and such a loyal following that people would come to us and say, hey, I was only lasting 30 seconds or a minute. Now I'm lasting 5 to 7 minutes or 10 minutes. I didn't need a lube. Now I need a lube. So our second product, we moved into the lubrication area. Then people were like, wow, those lubes are great. Now I'd like to have a little more erectile function. I don't have ED, but as I begin to age, I just notice a slight decrease in the rigidness or the firmness of my erections, and my libido isn't as strong as it used to be. Then we developed VitaFlux, which is a nitric oxide supplement. And then we got into the toy business because there was a real market for toys. And so the company's always evolving. And it's funny, I don't know if you're aware of this, but we just introduced a product a month ago. We have a male masturbation cream. And it was developed because in talking to a lot of urologists, they were telling me that a lot of men, they're still, I think things are getting better, certainly not even the 12 years I've been involved in this company, I've seen an improvement. There's still this puritanical nature that we live under. Whether it's about sex in general, whether it's type of sex, it's still not where we should be. You go to Europe and people are so open and there's no stigma. Here, it's still, you have no idea how, even though we have a medical advisory board and we have clinical trials, we go to run an ad, which is one of our doctors in a lab coat talking about one of our clinical trials, and it gets flagged. We can't, that's, adult content. I'm like, what? I can't imagine somebody talking a medical company having a form of chemotherapy for cancer and saying, oh, you can't run that, or someone having a dialogue about insulin for diabetics. You can't have that. Sexual wellness is still very difficult to operate in because there are limitations that you can have in terms of advertising. So it's become really apparent to us that shows like yours that allow us to have dialogue and explain why we do what we do, how we do it, the science, the technology behind it helps us differentiate, helps people go, whoa, these guys are really in it for the right reasons, and they're doing things to build this long-term company. One of the things that I'm most proud of is we grow every year. And, when we first started, all we had was our website. Then we got onto Amazon and we quickly became the #1 best-selling product in sexual enhancements on Amazon. And then we got into Target, we got into CVS, we got into Walmart. And unless you're located in one of these geographical regions, we're in HEB, which is strictly Texas, big chain in Texas. We're in Meyer, which is in the Rust Belt. It's kind of a Walmart type store in Michigan, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin. Then we just got into Wegmans with multiple products back east. So it's been slow, steady growth. Some might say spectacular, but I don't call it spectacular. We're growing 20, 30% a year. But when you're growing 20, 30% a year, you're going from 1 million to 1.2 million. That's good.
Right.
But it's not as significant when you grow from 10 million to 12 million. That's 20%, but that's an extra 2 million a year, not 200,000.
Right.
So people have said to me, can you continue to grow at the same rate you're growing as you get bigger? I said, yeah, we'll grow at that same level, if not more, because now we have resources and we're profitable, so we can have more aggressive advertising campaigns, and we can target specific demographics, and we know where a lot of our business lies. I know we do a tremendous amount of business, and most people are afraid to talk about it, but it's something you have to be aware of and you have to talk about. There are certain ethnicities that have much higher levels of PE than others. Arabic men, Hispanic men being first among them, and Indian men. And there's a debate in the urological community about, is that physiological in nature, or is it a learned experience? Because especially in this country, that a lot of those demographics tend to come from larger families, sometimes multiple families in a household. So when a young man reaches his first sexual awakening and he starts to masturbate, he's in a room with 2 or 3 other people. So it's like, oh, no one's here, I got to hurry up and get this over with. So he's almost training himself, as opposed to those ethnicities have higher levels of penile sensitivity or dopamine, for serotonin, because they know that serotonin works in allowing people to have greater duration. I'm very much in touch with our customer base. And I remember some of our largest users I would reach out to early on, and I'd send an email, said, hey, we really appreciate your business. You're one of our larger users. And then it became apparent to me that we had found a very, very strong following in the gay community. And when I called some of the customers, because I'll give them my phone number, say, hey, let's have a chat. You use a lot of product. And they'll go, well, there's 2 penises in the relationship. I go, no wonder you use so much product, you know?
Exactly.
And so we went to some pride functions, and we have a lot of very, very devout followers in the community. And it's been something that's been very, very good for us. Then I reached out. It just so happens my primary residence is in Summerlin, Nevada. And one of the top therapists in alternative lifestyle and alternative sexuality is a guy named Tiger DeVore. And he's right here. He's located. He lives like 4 miles from me. I see him around town. So I've gone to lunch and gone to dinner with him. And he's showed us how to target some of our specific campaigns. Because I remember he said, you really need to incorporate this in some of your outreach. Be the top you've always wanted to be. And I'm like, what does that mean? And he started explaining it. I go, now I get it, Yeah. And it's always been fascinating to me, because I knew from a young age that I was always wired, that I had a certain desire and a certain specific, sexuality. Yep. So I'm assuming that everyone's like that. I've always laughed when people say, some of these devout Christians and some of these far, right people are like, we're going to have conversion therapy. We're going to convince someone to change their sexuality. There could be nothing more absurd ever that I've ever heard in my life than that. I don't think, for the most part, you choose. You either are born with an affinity for the opposite sex, affinity for both sexes, affinity for your own sex. I know for me, it was never a choice. I know for me, that's how I was born.
Yep.
I remember, you'll laugh when I tell you this. I tell this to people, they just start laughing. Only you would admit this. I remember when I was 4 years old, and my dad was at work, obviously, during the day, and I was home with my younger sister. My older sister was already at school. So I must have been about 4. And my mom, we were kind of poor, was like a seamstress on the side. And I remember that she used to have people come over, and they'd have a suit coat. She'd like put pins in the thing. This is where I'm going to, hem it, blah. So this attractive young girl, must have been in her 20s, came in, and she was standing on this box, and my mom was hemming her skirt where she was going to, put the hem in. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to go hide in my room, because we had a real small house. So my room was also the changing room. So I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to go hide in that room, because I want to see her get undressed. It couldn't have been a sexual thought. I was 4 years old. I was 9 years from puberty. Okay.
Exactly.
But I already knew that I was predisposed to wanting to see her without her clothes on, which obviously led to eventually wanting to have sex with people like that.
But it's so interesting, Jeff, because what you're bringing up, it's not just even that. It's like, if I've talked with heterosexual friends of mine about this in numerous ways too, like, do you want to ride him, or do you not want to ride him? Do you want to, do you want your spouse to take you from back rather than missionary? Yeah. All these things are things that you are predisposed to. Yes, we didn't learn this at 4 years old. Okay. To your point, but there's these things that are inherent, even as a gay man. Okay. And I was married for 13 years in a heterosexual relationship. And there were certain things that I just enjoyed doing more sexually, even with her, that carried forward with me, what I do with men, and now what I do with my husband. Absolutely. It is just that thing, because that's what I enjoy doing. I didn't get taught these things. I did not, I'm going to go really crass here. I did not get taught how to eat, a vagina. Yeah. Any more than I learned how to eat an ass. Okay. Yeah. But there are things that I personally enjoy doing. Not everybody, but there's a side of this but that's just how I'm predisposed. I already said I love jerking off. That is something that's always been something I've really enjoyed doing. And it's so interesting to me to see these crazy things like conversion therapy. Like, this is just who this person is.
If someone said to me, we want to convert you, I go, that's impossible. This is how I'm wired. Okay.
Right.
This is how I'm. So for me to ever say to anyone else, you need to be converted, is ludicrous, because I know that I from birth had a certain predisposition. This is what I like. Like you, from the time I was 13, I think my nickname should have been Palm Pilot when I was in high school. And that's before they had electronic devices, okay? So trust me, from 13 till 15 or 16, when I became sexually active, I think I had calluses on both hands,
I agree.
But I'm at the age now, at 68, if I'm in a relationship, my, masturbation, my jerking off goes way, way down, because I always tell people, when you're in your teens and you're in your 20s, you're a machine gun. You can fire at will, because there's a lot more bullets in the chamber. Yep. Then you get to be in your 30s, then you're kind of a semi-automatic weapon. Right. Then you're in your 40s, early 50s, you're a rifle. I tell people now I'm a musket. You know what I mean? You got to put that ball down. You got to put the thing, you know what I mean? Like, I know right now, when I'm done, I need a meal or maybe two, a night's sleep, and a workout before I'm ready to go again.
Before I'm ready to go again. Yep.
So
thank you very much.
If I'm in a relationship, there's no way I'm home and she's going to be here at 6 and I'm going to jerk off at 3, because I'm going to be diminished by 6 or 7, Exactly. It's like, I have to pick my spots. If I'm dating someone and she's gone for 2 days on a business trip, I go, okay, great. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it's a whole different thing.
Yeah. For me, I'm like you. I always enjoyed the feeling. I remember the very first time I ever met, it was like, and I remember back then, because I'm 68 and I was 13, so that was 55 years ago. It was in your mind, you're thinking, oh, you're doing something wrong.
Because that's what we were told too.
That's what you were told. But I remember thinking, I don't care how wrong this shit is. This feels good. Okay.
It feels really good.
Right or wrong, I'm doing this,
But this is what I think is so interesting about companies like yours and others that are out there. This is about, helping you continue the pleasure of sexual health and wellness, but just of sex as well. And, I've had people go, oh, I can't even imagine playing with a toy. I'm like, then that's not your disposition. That's just not who you are. For others, that's like, let's explore, let's have some fun. And I think the beauty of what you're doing is you're giving people lubricants and sprays and all this stuff to say, let's continue to make this enjoyable and enhance what you're already doing. Even if it's, hey, I've shot my load, I'm going to have to reload in about another 24 to 48 hours before I can do it again. But let's use what we have in that moment. I am a guy that's like, I'm not going to say I'm going to go for hours on end, but I would much rather like play around and go an hour or so and then go, okay, now finally, the money shot happens. But at my age, I can't do that all the time right now. Yeah. So what I need is some help, some tools, set the mood, not like roses and everything. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't long ago, my husband came home and he said, how was your day? I said, it was good, but I'm horny as fuck. Let's go. And it was like really a shock to him. I'm just telling you what I'm ready to go do. Interestingly enough, he wasn't ready, but he met me in that moment. He's like, it's all about you right now. And we got the lubes out that I like to use and all this sort of stuff. And it was a really beautiful thing because we met each other in the moment. And I love what Promescent is doing. And, those of you who are watching this on YouTube, you can see the logo in the background, Better in Bed. This is what I believe so many sexual health and wellness companies are doing. And you're one of those right now, Jeff.
You communicated, more importantly. You told him, this is what I need. And fortunately, that communication was received. And he went, I'll meet you. Like you said, I'll meet you halfway. Let's make sure, because right now you're ready to go. Even if I'm not, this is what I tell people all the time. If you pay it forward and you listen and you take care of your partner, the roles will be reversed at some point, and he's more likely to say, hey, you're ready to go. I might not be, but I'm making sure that you enjoy this moment. I'm making sure that the focus is on you right now. Someone asked me one time, they said, out of all your products, what do you think is most effective in having people have better intimacy? I'm going to say, I said, first of all, the most important thing isn't one of our products, it's communication. I can't tell you how many times that I happen to speak to someone in a relationship and they'll tell me about this sexual difficulty. I go, well, what are you and your partner like discussing and doing about it? And they go, we don't discuss. I go, what? I guess I'm old school because of my age. If you're in a relationship, you're intimate with someone, why would topics about your actual intimacy be off limits? Why would you be uncomfortable bringing it up? You shouldn't be, is the answer. So I think it's important that the most important tool that you have in your toolbox for better intimacy is communication.
Absolutely.
Understanding. And like you say, sometimes meeting halfway. And most importantly, if something isn't meeting your expectations, everyone has been in a situation that has had more than one lover in their life, that sometimes they're doing something, you go, I wish they wouldn't do as much of that.
Exactly.
If you don't say anything, they're going to keep doing it, and they're going to assume.
Exactly, because I assume that's what you enjoy. I mean, I went through that with my husband.
If there's something you'd rather them be doing that they're not doing, don't assume they're a mind reading. Say, hey, I'd really like this, and allow them to know that. One of the things that I always do early on in any relationship is I ask my partner to masturbate for me. And I always know if it's going to be a good or bad sexual relationship, because if they're really uptight, go, oh my God, I'm not doing that. I go, oh, this might not be a good fit. But if they're like, yeah. And I always explain to them, I said, listen, you could let me figure out how to unlock the safe over the next 4 to 6 weeks by trial and error, or you can just give me the code, because generally speaking, when you're masturbating, you're doing exactly what feels good to you with the exact amount of pressure in the exact area. So you're basically giving me a cheat code. Okay. So it's very important that people feel comfortable. And if you say to someone, I'd like you to masturbate for me, then consider it a compliment, not, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Yeah. Because I'm literally having you show me how you get the most pleasure and how to make sure that I give you the most pleasure, which to me is very, very important.
It's so interesting we're having this conversation. It was a couple of weeks ago, I did my my once a month men's group call. And we went off our normal schedule, and we did it on a Friday night. We did it a little bit later, and it was all about, let's talk about fantasies, what turns you on, all this sort of stuff. And in that conversation, I said, guys, it's kind of like if you don't say what you desire, nobody can read minds.
Yeah.
I said, I was in a 3-way with, my husband and a guy, and the guy really wanted to give me a blowjob. And I'm like, okay, cool. But guess what? That doesn't turn me on. It doesn't do anything for me. However, I also have to realize that for the other party, that may be their turn on. So, in the midst of all of this, I'm like, if you would have turned to my husband, and I did look at my husband, he's like, I could just tell, he's like, you're not enjoying this. I could tell, right? But I had the foresight to say, after I let the guy take care of me a little bit, like, hey, could you move here a little bit? Flip side is, I love having my balls sucked on. So let's just go there, right? But had I not communicated that and realized there's a pleasure of this for the other person, and there's this other thing that has to happen too, but we are not trained. Nobody teaches us in our youth how to have these conversations, let alone how to go talk about, should we get this lube? Should we not get this lube? Oh, what would happen? Why would I need this delay spray? Is there something wrong in our relationship? Yeah. No, these are open conversations to say, hey, look at that toy. I bet that could be fun. We don't need toys. Is there something? No, it's about just enjoying. We are sexual beings. And anybody who doesn't like that, then you're way too uptight for my world. So
that's exactly how I feel. But I will tell you this, that men in general have a feeling, and we've had to educate, and I've done some videos on this for our website, that a lot of men think incorporating a toy into your intimacy means that it's in place of instead of in addition to them.
In addition to.
Jesus,
Yep.
I tell people, leave your fucking ego at the door, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Your goal should be giving your partner the largest number of orgasms, the most intense orgasms you possibly can. I guess I'm wired a little differently. I don't give a shit how I do it, because I know that if I'm in a relationship and my partner has a tremendous number of orgasms and they're very intense, then their first response is, I want him to have just as many and just as intense, because he's a good provider, intelligent, funny, and hey, he's taking care of my sexual needs. I better make sure his are taken care of as well. So I think that even though sometimes people go, oh, you're Gandhi, you're so attentive to my needs. I'm like, listen, I know if I am, I'm getting it on the back end as well. Okay.
Exactly.
So if you want to treat it like I'm the most caring person in the world, go ahead and give me that. But I'm doing that because my life experience has taught me that if you're experiencing a tremendous amount of orgasms and they're intense, you're going to make sure that I am as well.
Right. And it isn't confined to just that moment. I mean, there's that whole other piece of the long orgasm experience, the whole thing that goes beyond just in that moment. I mean, there's been times that it's just, I didn't really get off quite the way I wanted to during the moment. And then later in the day, it's like something just like, oh, okay, there it was. I didn't like, literally didn't have, well, yes, a couple of times it's like, oh, it happened now, you know, but it was like the energy was just there. And what I find so interesting, and especially even in, okay, guys, I know we're all talking gay men here. I cannot tell you the number of gay men I've had these same conversations with, like, well, but I need to get him off because, you know, I got to please him. That's a beautiful sentiment. I'm just going to say that's a beautiful sentiment. Instead, I would say I would love to get him off because it turns me on to watch him get off. If I don't get off right now, I know I will later. And this is, again, these things that there's so much assumption about gay men that all we want to do is have sex, get off, we'll screw anything. Okay, there's a section of that our population that's way, but guess what? There's the same thing happening in the heterosexual world.
I was going to say, why is that any different than heterosexual? It's not.
Right. No.
And I'll be honest with you, anyone who said that all I ever do is make love and it's flowery and it's this, then you're not living a full life. No. There are times in every relationship where you go, I just want a quick, intense orgasm. Okay. There are times that you want to feel connected, that you want to feel this whole process, you know. It just depends on your mood, on your needs, on your desires at that point in time. You know, I really, truly believe that, that every normal adult will have certain needs that fit certain moods and certain times of their life and certain periods. I know that for me in a relationship, there's a lot of times that I just feel, I don't want to use the word romantic, but more connected. And I know that my intimacy will be enhanced by just sending some text messages during the day. Hey, can't wait to see you tonight, blah, 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 blah. So the process starts earlier. So by the time that you're ready to have intimacy, there's almost, it's like a crock pot that's been bubbling all day and the meal's almost ready. As opposed to sometimes if that hasn't been the case and all of a sudden you're like, let's go right now, your partner might not be on that same wavelength, you know? So, and there are times you're both on the wavelength, just drop them right now and let's go.
Exactly. And let's go. Exactly.
Let's go right now.
One of the, in my coaching, before we wrap this up, one of my favorite questions, working with guys who are like, I'm just trying to find Mr. Right. I'm trying to learn how to date better. I'm trying to make sure, you know, compatibility and everything. I said, so here's one of my questions. Ask the guy what is in his, quote, I don't like to use the word arsenal anymore, but like, I'm going to use it here. Like, what's in his arsenal of sexual pleasure, additional toys, lubes? What's in your toolbox that you use for the sexual arousal stuff? They're like, really? You would ask a guy that? I'm like, yeah. If I were to walk into some guy's house, knowing that I'm horned up, okay, I want to be with him, right? But if I found out there's no lube, there's no toys, there's nothing that's going to enhance it. Yes, I could just do the wham bam. Thank you, sir. But if I'm going to come back for seconds, I want to kind of know what else might be in the works that we're going to get to experience, because I don't need missionary position, only have sex once a week, blah, 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 blah. That's like living my old life. Don't want that.
You don't want your old life. You want to evolve. You want to get to a point. And I'll be honest with you, once you start using lubes and toys and everything else, you don't go backwards after that.
Nope.
I mean, I don't know if I told you, but our newest product is a male masturbatory cream. And we start selling a bunch of male masturbatory devices. And I was like, oh my God, it's just insane. So then we developed a special lube because we found out through urologists and through even talking to a lot of our customers, a lot of men don't use lube when masturbating. And I think part of it is, it's almost like there's still a certain segment of the population, it feels like it's almost embarrassing that if you're masturbating, oh, I can't find a partner, I'm alone. So if you plan it out, you know what I mean? That means that you're almost acknowledging you're by yourself, that almost like they want to get the feeling, watch porn, do whatever, jerk off and get it over with. No, you should treat it almost like you're romancing yourself. Get ready, get lubrication. You know what I mean? Maybe take some VitaFlux. We have this nitric oxide supplements, gives you a better quality erection, which heightens arousal, you know? And have the proper lubrication. We sell a tremendous amount of prostate massagers.
I'm sure you do.
That's one of our more successful products. And I'll be honest with you, it works.
I'm sure it does.
A lot of straight men were very hesitant at first to, oh, well, that's not for sure. I go, what do you mean? If having your prostate massage intensifies your orgasm, why wouldn't you use it? I don't care what your sexual preference is. I'm all about having as many and as intense orgasms as possible. I don't give a shit.
Right. But it's also the interesting thing, and this is and kind of comes full circle to this whole conversation. Okay, you won't want to do that, you know, and this happens in the gay community too. Oh, no, I'm not a bottom. I'm not a bottom. But man, I have been with many guys in the gay community. They sure like having that little pucker played with. And I'm like, really? You haven't even begun. But here's the interesting thing. Oh, no, that's not me. But you sure want to just pound a woman with your cock and just, you know, fuck them hard. That isn't what really gets a woman off, guys. That is not what's going to get them off. They want the other stuff played with and that other experience and all of this sort of stuff. And it isn't just going down on her either. It isn't like, let's go down on her and get her. There's this whole thing that we are sexual beings from our toes to our head, depending on where your, you know, erogenous zones are.
Your ears, your everything.
Exactly.
It's all part of the erogenous experience.
And to me, the beauty of
the
beauty of having a cream like what you're talking about. This is something that I find so interesting.
It's one of our best-selling products now. It's
absolutely
insane.
Absolutely. One of my favorites. I haven't, okay, now that you got yours out, I'm definitely going to be trying it. But one of my favorites is Slow Motion Lotion. I can't remember the company that does it. Little orange bottle. Man, when I discovered that baby, I was like, okay, finally, I have something that actually just is really, really great.
Did we send you any of ours?
Not yet, but you will be. Okay. I know you will.
It's called Go Solo.
I love it.
I know the exact product you're talking about. This is superior.
Okay. And see, this is the thing that I wish we could have. I'm so glad we're having this conversation. That's why I wanted you on the podcast, because the more comfortable we start being talking about these sort of things, the happier we are as humans and a whole lot less angst is built up. Sex should not be something that causes angst. In fact, one of my most proudest moments when in my sex life is when I say to my husband, or he says to me, I just want to watch you jerk off. I just want to watch you. I want to give you some of that pleasure. I'll do nipples. I'll do whatever. But can you just jerk off for me? Because it's a turn on. It is a turn on. And sometimes just admitting these things.
I am a voyeur early in every relationship. I ask my partner to jerk off for me. I swear to God.
Yep.
And I love, because if you're in the middle of doing it yourself, you don't really get to watch as much because you're involved. Every once in a while, I'm sure professional baseball players go, I want to watch a baseball game and not be in it, just to kind of enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, or a fighter go, I want to watch a fight where I'm not in there getting punched so I can enjoy it.
Yes.
I am a voyeur. I've never shied away from that. I love it. And I love to watch a partner masturbate. Love it. I admit, I'm fascinated by it. I'm addicted to it.
Yep. Such a beautiful thing. Well, Jeff, I am
really
so glad we got to do this today. I can't wait to see more of your stuff. I know it's out
You're
there.
You're going to get it, but this Go Solo lotion, I know the exact product you're talking about, the one that you love in the little orange bottle.
Yeah.
And this formula that we helped design, they were on a very similar journey, and it didn't meet their profit margins. So they went to the one they have. This is superior.
That's
and the
awesome.
only reason they didn't go with this one
experience.
is because they got the one they're using for a lot less.
Yep.
So they were like, this fits our profit margins. One of the things that we've always been about is we believe that if we sell enough product, the margins aren't as important. It's getting the top. Every product that we have in our entire arsenal is as good or better than anything else in the segment. We won't introduce a product unless we feel that way.
That's awesome.
And people say to me, and I get criticism for this, how many products are new products you're going to introduce next year? I go, between 0 and 5. They go, shouldn't you say 3 and stick to 3? I go, if my mantra is every product we have is as good or better than anything else in the space, and I say 3, if I get to September, I don't have any products yet, I got to pick 3 just so I can get 3 out the door. The reason I say 0 to 5, because if I find 0, there's good or not better than anything else in that space, they're going to be introduced. It might be 3, It might be 4, it might be 5. But if I don't find anything, it won't be introduced, because every product we've ever introduced has gone gangbusters and taken off. Because when we first started introducing more products, I would send email out to the men and go, what made you buy this product? And they go, I know if it's on this site, it's top quality, and I know you'll stand behind it 100%. We have a 30-day money-back guarantee on every product on our site. So awesome. People know that, they trust it. So we introduce a new product. If someone's using that product, even if someone else, they buy it immediately because I know blah, blah, blah. The first time I put a kind of meh product out there that's not that good, people go, oh, I don't have that same confidence. I never want to lose that when people see it, that they're going to buy it immediately. And this is
such a beautiful thing to like talk about, I guess, coming full circle here. Confidence in anybody's life is a struggle. Let's just be honest.
Oh.
Confidence in the bedroom
is lying.
Right. Yeah. And confidence in the bedroom or in relationships is a whole nother ball game. And I love that what you're helping people do is gain some of that, use some amazing products, find the thing that works best for them, and also making these conversations accessible and real. So the stigmas are normal.
Get this. Yeah. I'm going to ask you a question. Tell me how you feel about this. Everyone has heard this before. When I'm not in a relationship, I can't find a relationship. I can't buy anyone to go out with me. You know what I mean? I'm lonely, whatever.
Yep.
When I get in a good relationship and I'm happy, everyone in the world hits on me. I used to hear that all the time. I got involved in this company and started giving it a lot of thought. And here's exactly what I feel. When you're not in a relationship and you're not having your needs fulfilled and you're not fulfilling someone else's needs and you don't have that confidence, you walk around kind of with your shoulders slumped and a little bit of almost despair, like, oh my God. Yeah. But when you're in a relationship and you're receiving good intimacy, you're giving, someone else a lot of pleasure, you're happy, your shoulders aren't slumped, they're back. Food tastes better. Music sounds better. Colors are brighter. You're walking around and people are like, I want a piece of whatever that is. That guy's exuding confidence. But when you're not and you're kind of walking around, people go, I don't know what's going on there, but I don't want a part of that.
I don't want
I truly believe that that's what's behind that theory that when I'm in a relationship and I'm happy, everyone in the world hits on me. When I'm not, I can't buy a date. I truly believe that's exactly what's going on there.
I agree. And that's a beautiful
place to wrap. And I think that our goal is to have everybody feel like I'm in a good relationship, but everyone's hitting on me because everyone's happy and everyone's fulfilled and they're having better in bed situations. They're having higher degrees of intimacy.
That's awesome. I agree. What a great place to wrap it up here, man. You've been such a great conversation and I just can't wait to see where all of this goes. If we could just have an interesting sexual revolution beyond, because I think we're getting to the place where I think people are starting to really tap into this. My sexual health, my sexual well-being, my sexual joy, my sexual happiness changes everything. And I think that's
it does. It just, like I said, it makes food taste better. It makes colors brighter. Music sounds better. Do we have your address?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You do everything.
Because I want that go solo. I want that.
For those of you who want to go solo too, We have a link that we're going to be sharing on the website that'll get you 15% off anything that you purchase on the site. So make sure you go check that out and that you get a piece of that and that you give yourself permission to go have the sexual pleasure that you deserve as gay men, whether you are solo or together. So Jeff, thank you so much, man, for being part of this conversation.
It's my pleasure. It's this kind of podcast, this kind of show that is our absolute favorite because it allows us to really, if we do a banner ad, if we do a 15-second spot, it's hard for people to understand the passion and who we are, what's behind us. We have clinical trials. We have so much invested in making sure we have the top quality products. It's hard to get that across in 15 seconds.
Very
hard. A forum like this is necessary.
And the connection and the stories that go with it. That's the important part.
Yeah, the pleasure's all ours. And I can't thank you enough for allowing us to have a vehicle like this to reach your listeners.
Awesome. And guys, thank you for being part of my world and listening and coming back and continuing to support the podcast. And I hope that each and every one of you walk away from this conversation not only going, I deserve better sexual health and pleasure, and you go check out and get the 15% off on site at Promescent and get some good stuff going so that you're better in bed. So thanks for being listeners, and we'll catch you in just another week, everyone. Take care and have a good week until the next episode.
That's a wrap for 40 Plus. Gay men, gay talk, where size doesn't matter. We drop our bullshit, get over our screwed up fears, make bold moves, and live life without apologies. Don't forget to join us on Facebook at 40 Plus, Gay Men, Gay Talk, where the conversations continue.